Alrighty, welcome everybody to this episode number 5 of Doug's Dugout. And once again, we've got Doug Blunt, the MLB guru of gurus for the RGV, as well as the Apple guru of gurus for the RGV. Doug, welcome
and
back.
cycling guru.
And cycling guru. That is true.
Yeah,
That is
cycling.
true. You are the Lance Armstrong of the Valley.
Yeah, I wish I had his money though.
Well, how's it been for you, Doug, this week?
I've been pretty busy. We've got her cousin down here visiting us
Yeah,
from up there in Frisco, where the rich people live.
yeah.
And yeah, she come down here, and so yeah, I've been confined to the friendly confines of my office in here,
Yeah.
while they get to watch their cooking shows and stuff. And then I've been fighting a problem I've got with the MLB app is that for some reason, right after the Cardinals got back from London, see, those games were blacked out. And
Right.
whenever the games are blacked out, I always have trouble with the TV.
Wow.
Okay. And so they came back and then they played Houston. So it was blacked out in St. Louis. So it was blacked out for 3 more games. So I
Wow.
tried using it and I tried all kinds of stuff. I called them. I'm on my 4th phone call with MLB, the customer support, and it doesn't seem to work. I can watch the games on my phone, and then I used to be able to stream the games from my phone to the TV. That stopped working, but now I can stream the games from the computer to the TV. So we
Wow.
don't know what's wrong with it. Yeah.
Wow.
But
Now, is
you
this
know,
the TV app itself or on your Apple TV?
it's on my Apple TV, on both
Hmm.
Apple TVs. Okay,
Okay.
I have the subscription. Diva got that for me earlier this year, and I like it working fine. I've used it for years, and I've
Right.
tried all kinds of stuff, and rebooted, the stuff,
Yeah.
rebooted, deleted the app, reloaded it, called MLB like I said, 4 times, and seems to be a problem with the IP address,
Huh.
because the IP address, that's how they determine blackouts. But from what I understand, I'm not the only person. Whenever a game's blacked out, they get an
Uh-huh.
endless amount of phone calls from
Yeah.
people complaining that once they black out, people understand the reason why the games are blacked out, but they
Right.
don't understand after the blackout's gone why they can't get back on the TV.
Right. Well, I think the last time we were on, we talked about maybe using a VPN. I know that one of my nephew apparently had a similar issue when the Dallas Mavericks were the games were actually blacked out, and he was actually in Dallas and couldn't watch them. So he had to resort to getting a VPN and pretend to be on a server somewhere else on the planet so he could watch it. And I think he got through it, but I haven't heard any more. I don't know what that would mean for you. Obviously, I know you're on. Is it
I
Verizon or is it
Yeah.
T-Mobile?
No, I'm still in the T-Mobile gateway. That doesn't seem to be a problem.
Okay.
And every time I talk to them, they go, "Can you look up the IP address on your computer?" Which I do,
Yeah.
and all that. And I don't know. We're at, uh, it's still not working. This is the last game before today's game is the last game for the All-Star break, and so they don't go back to work till next Friday.
Right.
Okay, the ball players do, and the All-Star game is going to be blacked out anyway. So
Right.
there's no reason to mess with it. But I mean, and I had an interesting conversation. We were on tech support waiting for all this stuff to reboot and stuff that and I knew this already. San Diego. The problem's the reason why the games are blacked out because of the cable companies.
Right.
Okay. And Spectrum happens to be in the great state of Texas. So that's the reason why the Cardinals are blacked out in any Texas game, even though we're more than 6 hours away.
Right.
I'm not going to hop in a car and go to a Texas Ranger game within an hour or 2 hour drive, right?
Right.
But
Even though
it's
a
all
lot of people
spectrum.
outside of Texas think that they can travel in Texas in 4 hours, not realizing it takes a day.
It takes 13 hours. Any way you want to go in Texas, you go north or south or east or west, it's 13 hours.
That's right. A lot of people don't realize we're a
Yeah.
whole nother country altogether.
uh,
You know.
five states really. And so, but San Diego, they dumped their Valley Sports. They filed bankruptcy, right?
Right.
And that has all the cable contracts. Well, each region has their own cable contract. Well, in San Diego area, the Padres, they just dumped the cable altogether, and now they stream everything. So now
Yeah.
the blackout issue goes away.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about that on the phone with MLB, and it kind of looks like that's what's going to be the norm pretty soon. Is that the next year, couple of years, the cable, all the sports cable companies are going to go away.
Well,
You
that's
know.
one of the things that I was talking. Actually, I replied to somebody who posted something about a maquiladora, believe it or not, that uh, was actually in Matamoros, and I actually worked for them for a couple of years because my
Mm-hmm.
prior to showing up at our former employer, I actually worked in the cable and the broadband industry, so I'm pretty familiar
Yeah.
with all that. But one of the things that happened back in those days was that the manufacturing facility used to manufacture cable set-top boxes. The old ugly boxes that you had to rent out from the cable company, and they rented the
Mm-hmm.
satellite receivers. And the technology obviously has changed to the point that now they're not manufacturing that stuff anymore. And the facility closed this week in Matamoros because streaming has pretty much eaten all of that up. Nobody wants to rent, a cable box or a satellite receiver. And, people are balking at this idea of paying $250 a month for cable, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so,
With
especially for
with
channels you
stations
don't
you don't
watch, right?
watch. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, nobody wants to, those old cable boxes that got the toggle switches.
Yeah.
It's like going taking a Sinclair computer home,
Oh,
or what was
gosh.
that one that they made in the 1970s, early 1970s? That was a Sinclair, wasn't it?
Right. It was made by Timex Sinclair.
Yeah, yeah. And nobody wants that. And those things are as big as a house, and they weigh 10 pounds, but
Yeah.
it's old tech, and they take up room in your house. And then the cable guy always gives you a coax about 10 times longer than it's supposed to be. Okay, and then you got to mess with that cable.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
streaming is much better when it's working, but I don't know.
Exactly.
Once
The
they
thing is that,
once one,
go ahead.
yeah, once they get this cable deal, once they knock off all the cable companies, like MLB does. I think NBA is already like that. I think NBA or hockey, one of the other ones, they're already like that, and it's going to be much better. You won't have to
Yeah.
deal with
Yeah. I mean,
blackouts
it's
and
kind of
stuff.
crazy. Like I said, it should be more a la carte. If you should be able to subscribe to certain channels that you watch versus taking a slew of channels that you don't watch. I can honestly say that even with Sling, which is what I use to supplement the lack of cable, the majority of the channels on Sling we don't watch. We may watch two or three, maybe four channels at most. So
Yeah,
I think it should be more a la carte. I think people would be more receptive to even adding more,
yeah,
channels as they watch them. But it's they've made a lot of money for a lot of years. So
easy money,
easy money.
easy money,
But
easy money.
anyway, I've had a pretty busy week myself. As you see there on the screen, we have a little baseball news ticker that I've implemented there.
I see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see
so
that.
we've got that going on, and then of course, I've been busy doing some other things. One of the things that we just launched is the Brownsville Tech Live e-magazine edition, and basically, it's basically a portal that contains all our live streams. So like today, you're on there. And actually, you're right there. You see? I've been busy doing some right there.
Okay.
Anybody that they don't have to go to YouTube, they don't have to go to Facebook. They can go to BrownsvilleTechLive.com, and they'll be able to catch the show right then and there. You know. So
There you go.
So that's kind of cool. You know.
So
And
who's
of course,
doing your NFL show?
Actually, I've got somebody else. Well, actually, I'm not going to share the secret. I'll tell you afterwards who the co-host is.
Okay.
But
Okay.
he's been on. He's been on before with us. So
Okay.
so
Yeah.
so you know that's going to happen here on Friday. That show's going to debut.
So who's doing your NFL show?
Actually, I've got
You there?
somebody.
I got a nickel.
Well, actually,
I know.
You need to shut that. Yeah.
Give me a second. Yeah. All right. What happens?
Actually,
is,
also too, Danny, I've been following the Tour de France for the first time in a number of years. You know, when
yeah.
Lance and George Hincapie and Jan Urik and those guys, you know, when they rode before all the scandals, I used to, I've watched it all the time, Tour de France. And so I'm right now, you don't even know who this guy is, but Lance and this German named Jan Urik, they had some big battles for about 5 years on the Tour de France. They called him the big German. He was a big guy. He's a big guy. And, and they would go back and forth. And, Lance would beat him a couple of times, and then Urik would come in and beat him, both of them very talented.
Yeah.
And I've been reading a book. I've just about finished with a book about Jan Urik. And because he kind of like faded off. He had some personal problems, alcoholism and drug abuse after he got done riding a bike. And then every day I just watch the highlights of Tour de France, okay, on YouTube. But then George Hincapie and Lance Armstrong has a show analysis, a podcast, and they do their analysis every day.
Yeah.
It's pretty, yeah. It's a lightning, with those two together. I mean, George, he was Lance's lieutenant. He was the one that paved the way for George. I mean, for Lance, he was the one that he was. You got a draft and just all kinds of strategy involved. And George did that for like 20 years, like 19 years.
Yeah.
And Joe was like, Lance was like the Babe Ruth. Okay, and George Hincapie was like Lou Gehrig.
Yeah,
good writer. Yeah, and they get on there and sometimes they can be pretty funny. There's a French guy that he's on it for like things. Says, Elaine, where are we going today? And the French guy gets on there, and I don't know who this French guy is, but it's just a narration. He says, "We're going from po to two to t to two," and they just start laughing because the guy, is French, and you know how French talks, Frenchmen do. Yeah, pretty funny.
Well, one of the
that takes all my time, man.
Yeah, one of the things about the e-magazine is, people can go in and actually check out all our previous videos as well. And it's called the magazine because, and by the way, this thing's been under development for a few months, so we're finally going to roll it out. But basically, it is a news magazine. We're able to pull in everything from NPR, so we're pulling in everything from NPR as well. We've got a whole section dedicated to SpaceX and Starbase.
A great conservative news media.
Yeah.
NPR. Very, very conservative.
Well, we've got SpaceX, so we're covering all of SpaceX there.
Speaking of SpaceX, we took the cousin out to Boca Chica Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. And took her out there. She had never been out there before and showed her everything out there. And went through, Starbase City, was it Starbase Village?
Right.
Okay. And then all that kind of stuff. And saw all where he's got all his airstreams at.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a job going out there,
It's a massive operation, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And they've improved on the road a little bit out there.
Yeah, they were working on it a few weeks ago. They were pouring concrete left and right, and they were still trying to fix the damage that was caused, by that initial launch. They already filed a plan with the FCC. I guess the FCC's got to approve the communications portion of the launch. So they've got date ranges from 7/15 all the way to December 15th. So anytime between the 15th of July through December 15th, there could be a launch at that point. Probably sooner rather than later. You know, but yeah, they've done quite a bit. They've done quite a bit of work, and we've also got a section on NFL news. So we've got a section with regards to the NFL, and we've got a section for the MLB, Doug, as well. So we've got all kinds of articles
Yeah.
with
How
regards
about that?
to the MLB. We've got a
Okay.
section for all the Dallas Cowboy fans, and that's a huge section right there. And we've got a section on CNET for technology news. So we're pulling,
Hey, we got electric bike there.
got an electric bike there. Yep, absolutely.
Oh, that's another thing I keep busy is I watch all these YouTube videos on electric bikes.
Yeah.
You know, these guys, Russ is right. He gets on every morning he gets up on his bike, and he's got his little GoPro with him and, he talks for an hour about everything. I mean, everything.
And we couldn't forget Fox News.
Oh, yeah. Fox News. You might want to, I've been kind of strong over to News Nation. I kind of like News Nation.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got to see.
Yeah.
I've got to see if there's some stuff that I can do with them. I haven't looked at them. We got a section on gaming, and then we've got everything about Apple. So if there's articles that pop up with regards to Apple, we've got that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's basically a one consolidated place to get all the news that you can get, regardless of whether it's technology, sports, politics, you name it, SpaceX, along with catching our shows. So, like I said, as we put out additional shows, they'll be popping up here, and it'll allow people to actually go here to view the live streams versus having to go through YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else. It's just a one consolidated place where you can find everything. But
That's good because like our old buddy Leo Laporte would say, don't depend on YouTube or Facebook to run your business because they can take you down in a minute's notice.
And the good
You
news
need to have.
is I'm back on Twitter again, so that's good news.
Did you get put in Twitter jail?
No, I don't think I was in Twitter jail. I think what happened is I think they had a problem. They didn't admit they had a problem. And then, I went ahead and subscribed to the Blue service. And then, I still couldn't stream. And then all of a
so
sudden,
you're verified, huh?
yeah, yeah.
Or is it, as I would say, bona fide?
That's
You're
right.
bona
I'm in
fide.
the Tucker Club.
Yeah, you're bona fide. Yeah. How about Meta? Have you looked at Meta yet?
No. No. Is that another website? Is that another social media site?
Yeah, Zuckerberg. That's his answer to.
Oh, yeah.
Or is it Meta or is it called something else?
No, it's called Threads.
Yeah, that's it. Thread.
Yeah. No, I have not seen Threads yet, but I hear it's a alternative to Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why it took him so long to do that.
What's been going on in the MLB this week?
Well, my Cardinals, well, we did win yesterday, okay, but we're playing subpar baseball, all year. It's not like the players, the starting lineup isn't trying. I mean, they score maybe 6, 7, 8 runs a game, but we're not getting. And the starting pitch has been very good, except for Wainwright, and they bring in a relief pitcher, and they just can't hold them.
Wow.
So there's going to be there's all kinds of rumors, and we can get into that later. What they're going to do, the Cardinals going to be a buyer or a seller.
Right.
I think they're not going to do anything, but there's a lot of rumors out there. Plus all the other teams, the Mets and the Padres have been disappointed all year because, and so same thing with them, same situation. They got superstars and they're not, their performance isn't very good. The Phillies have been a disappointment, but they're starting to make some moves now. And the Yankees are starting to make some moves now too.
Well,
So you want to go through the standings?
yep. So we've got
Okay.
the American League East, and once again, Tampa Bay is at 57 wins and 35 losses.
Yep. Tampa Bay. What can you say about Tampa Bay? Excellent starting pitching. They've got some good hitters. Um, it's the premier team.
And then, of course, you've got Croston's Baltimore team.
Baltimore's having a great year.
Yeah.
There's some trade talk with Baltimore. They've got some young ball players that they can probably get them through the stretch drive. So I don't know if Baltimore is going to make some trades or not, but they've come a long ways. But we get into the Yankees. The Yankees are starting to make some moves now.
Mm-hmm.
Harrison Bader, the ex-Cardinal that we traded away last year, he's playing center field for him. He gives a lot of energy to that club, like he did with St. Louis. He's he's an energized ball player,
Yeah.
and he's back, and they're trying to get by until Aaron Judge gets back because he's been on the DL ever since he went through the fence there in Dodger Stadium.
Now, what's interesting is that Toronto, which is right behind him, they're actually tied with regards to wins and losses as well as percentage.
Yeah,
Their percentage is .544 each team. So, you
I
know,
think the experts think that Baltimore is going to eventually fade,
uh,
and for that second wild card spot, it's going to be up between Toronto and the Yankees.
ah, so you think that either one could get the second spot then?
Yeah, the second wild card spot.
Yeah.
Boston's, there's this that whole division is not playing bad baseball. I mean, they're all over five. They're over 500.
Right.
But Tampa Bay, they're setting the standard. I mean, they're 57-35, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And but even Boston in last place they're 47-43,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they don't have anything.
And then, of course, a little surprising, the Minnesota Twins are actually now in second place. I think they were in first place last week, weren't they?
Yeah, they're out by half game.
Yeah.
Um, you know, um,
Cleveland, the Guardians, I think that's what they're called. Uh,
yeah, yeah, the
they've now
Guardians.
creeped up to first place.
Yeah, yeah. Detroit's starting to fade now a little bit,
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens with them.
Then you've got the White
The White
Sox.
Sox, yeah, the Cardinals are playing the White Sox right now. They've been a big disappointment. Their ace pitcher, this guy named Dylan Cease,
Uh-huh.
that was a Cy Young winner last year, I believe. He's had a terrible year. Cardinals, they played him Friday night, and the Cardinals blasted him around.
Wow.
Okay. And we later lost that game because of their relief pitching, I think.
Yeah.
Our relief pitching. But the White Sox, um, they got a few young ball players, but Tim Anderson, their star, is having it's just a terrible year. He's hitting below the Mendoza line
Yeah.
and no power. He usually hits maybe 20, 25 homers a year. He doesn't have any this year. And I don't know what's going to happen with him. He may get traded,
Yeah.
but
And
they're
then you've got Kansas City at last.
typical Kansas City year. They're bottom dwellers.
Bottom
You got to
feeders.
get, yeah, you got to hand it to the fans there. When George, you know, they won it a couple years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Right.
But since then, they've not done anything. We think of Kansas City, we think of George Brett and the pine tar incident, right? You know, and but George Brett, premier, all he Hall of Famer,
Right.
but that was 30 years ago. So
Yeah. Well, looking at the AL West here, no surprise there. Texas is still on top, first place,
the two
52 wins,
Texas teams are
39
battling it
losses.
out.
Yeah.
Texas got a lot. They got a lot of people on the All Star game
Yeah.
and All Star lineup, and then Houston's starting to get a little hot now.
Yeah.
Okay, and Seattle, they're just kind of putting around the All Star games in Seattle this year. Um, you might see a few trades with them, um, so they can get better. So I don't know.
Yeah. And then you've
Angels, the story is that Otani is probably on the trading deadline deal because his contract's up, and the Angels are for sale, and so they're going to want to reduce their payroll because they're
yeah.
Otani, if he stays with the Angels, he's going to want like $36 million a year or $40 million a year because he can go both ways, right?
Right.
He can pitch and hit,
Right.
and so and they Mike Trout's got a lifelong contract, so they can't move him. So if they decide to sell Otani, if they say to trade to Otani, they'll probably get like maybe 6, 7. They might get a whole new team
Mm-hmm.
because and because he's that good, and he's having a banner year. I mean, he'll probably get the most valuable player,
Wow.
but his last year of his contract, so they usually try to get rid of him so they can get something.
Yeah. And of course, you've got
Oakland,
Oakland there in last place.
Oakland. I've been hearing some rumors about Oakland as far as their stadium deal is that I believe I think Major League Baseball, their president, who is I forget the guy's name. Anyway, he assigned some people to do something about the Oakland situation. Like they're going to either going to move to Vegas or where they're going to go.
So is Vegas committed to building them a stadium after all?
I don't think so, not yet. The state approved it and all that, but then the actual voters turned it down because they don't want to
Yeah.
get more taxes.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. If not, we've seen that, if they don't get a stadium in Oakland, they're going to try to go elsewhere, and if Vegas doesn't, well, I don't know what they're going to do.
I even heard a rumor yesterday or the day before that they were going to move to Philadelphia
Wow.
because originally they were in Philadelphia a long time ago. They were the Philadelphia team
Really?
around the turn of the century.
Wow.
They were in Philadelphia from 1900 to about 1950,
Yeah.
1955. Then Charlie Finley bought them, and they moved to Kansas City. And then they were on the bottom. They were on the bottom of the cellar there too. And then he moved them in the late '60s. He moved them to Oakland.
Now, do you think that actually works, when you have cities with dual teams? I mean, you got Chicago with the White Sox and the Cubs and the Yankees and the Mets.
Well, back in the day, there'd be National League and American League Baseball, and the two leagues were quite different. They had different umpires and different rules in some cases, and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
the type of baseball was different. Like the National League, they were more of a running, hitting type of baseball, and the American League was home runs. Wait for the
Right.
home run in the fifth inning or something. Well, and they had different umpires. And the old story is that okay, the American League umpires behind the plate, they used the old flotation device, protecting mat. There's like a you've probably seen them. It's a big chest protector that's like a flotation deal,
Right.
and so the umpires couldn't get low. And so they would call that in the American League, if, you throw a pitch, that would be considered, you could get away with they would call a low pitch a ball, even though it might have been a strike, because the umpires, because of that chest protector, couldn't get down low enough.
Right.
Well, the National League didn't have it. They had regular, light chest protectors, but that's
Right.
all changed now. That, the old style is gone, and the umpires are a mix of both leagues now. So so there's no difference between the umpiring.
Yeah.
So and then the DH is gone now.
Right.
So that was the only really thing, and so it's you know it's the same umpiring. So both leagues now are really, and they got rid of the. There used to be a American League commissioner, National League commissioner. There's an old Cardinal great named Bill White. They used to be the American League commissioner
Right.
a long time ago. Okay, he's just passed away about a year or two ago, and there's is just one commissioner, so it's all
Wow.
one office. There's no different leagues, so there's really not much difference in the leagues.
Right. Well, on the National League, you've got the Atlanta. They're still on top with 60 wins
Well,
and 28
probably,
losses.
probably, probably, arguably the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
I would say they've got they're put. We say this every week. They've got everything they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you've got Miami
Ronald,
there in second
there's a
place.
ball player they got called Ronald Acuna Jr.
Uh-huh.
Okay, he missed last season because of I think ACL injury. He's having a great year,
Yeah.
fantastic year.
And then you've got Miami in second place there.
Yeah, the Cardinals played Skip Schumacher, former Cardinal, great bench coach for the Cardinals, and he took that job, this winter. Okay, as his first manager job, and I mentioned the general manager happens to be a Asian woman, the first woman general manager in baseball. That she's been with a lot of teams in the front office, and she really knows baseball. She's really good at it, and
Mm-hmm.
she's put together a pretty good team there. And the Cardinals played them this season. Well, it's this last week, and they've got some. They, I think they swept us because
Yeah.
they've got some good. They got some good pitching, and they're playing good. They got a second baseman. His name is Araz or something like that,
Uh-huh.
and he won the champ. Get this, he won the champion. He won the batting champion in the American League last year for the Twins. He played for the Twins, and the Twins, believe it or not, they traded him to Miami for some pitching.
Yeah.
And the trade worked out okay, but this guy can hit. I mean, he's hitting close to 400, and nobody's
Wow.
done that since the days of Ted Williams.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he's hit. I mean, this guy can hit.
Yeah.
And they've got some other ball players on there, and they're great. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
good team.
Then you've got Philly in third place.
They're starting to make some moves now. Bryce Harper. I think they got him playing first base now. I think. Um, there's a trade possibility there. Their first baseman's out for the year. This kid named Hoskins, and now Bryce Harper's back, but he's usually a right fielder.
Yeah.
There's a possibility, I think, that the Cardinals may trade Paul Goldschmidt to the Phillies for some relief pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because Goldschmidt, even though he's like the cornerstone of the Cardinals, he's one of these ball players, Danny, that goes out and just plays every day. You get everything from him. And at the end of the year, well, he's most valuable player last year in baseball. But I mean, he'll go out and he always hits like close to 300. He'll get 90 to 100 RBIs and he hit about 30, 35 homers every year. His fielding is the best in baseball. And he's kind of really low key.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the thing is that he's on his last year of his contract, and his contract only for 22 million. So, you know,
Pocket
and there
change.
might be a yeah. Well, there might be a possibility. Well, the Cardinals already paid him up to now. See,
Yeah.
so they may trade him to get some relief pitching,
Wow.
but but I don't know. That's oh man, I tell you that would be. And we've got some people that can play first base now. I mean, Burleson can play first base, but I don't know if he's an everyday ball player. There's a kid they brought up from Memphis. His name is Lucan Baker. He's like 24 years old. He's
Right.
like 6'5", and he weighs about 250. This guy is built is you know I mean he's built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay,
Wow.
and they finally had to bring him up because he was as blast in the playing for Memphis, which is our number one minor league team. Okay, he was just blasting the ball all over the place. Last year, he won the Triple Crown down in the International League where they play at, and I've watched him on the minor league games, and he's the real deal.
Yeah.
But he can only DH or play first base
Right.
because he's so big. He runs fairly well, but he's no speedster. So they might give the job to him, you
Yeah.
know, and then that way they wouldn't have to pay that. They just have to pay the minimum salary to him.
Right.
Or, they could, Donovan or Gorman, either one of those two guys could play first base too. So,
Yeah.
they got some options of playing people first base, but, Goldschmidt, Goldschmidt, I like Goldschmidt quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's the wrong deal, but he's 35 years old, 36 years old. I think he's going
Yeah.
to be 36.
Yeah.
So they may try to get younger
Yeah.
and dump that contract. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Younger and cheaper.
Well, he's got the 10-year rule too, though. See,
Yeah.
he may not want to go. And so
Yeah.
he's been in the majors more than 10 years, so he may veto the trade.
Right.
But he's good. Philadelphia, he's going to be going to a contender.
Right.
Okay. So, he may want to get in the playoffs and stuff, but I don't know about Goldschmidt. He's kind of a real quiet guy. So, I mean, he's good. He's a Texas boy.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And then you've got
we'll
the
see what
Mets
happens.
and Washington at the bottom of the league there.
Yeah, Mets been very disappointed this year. They spent close to $1 billion on their payroll, right?
Right.
And not much to show for it,
Right.
and so
And then you've got the NL Central.
uh,
You've got Cincinnati, 50 wins and 40 losses.
yeah, their shortstop. I thought maybe usually they brought this kid up from their minor league, Eli, I think his name, and he's a young kid. He's got dreads on and stuff. He's a hot dog, but he can run, he can hit, he can throw, he's got 5 tool bit ball player.
Mm-hmm.
He might be a lot of these kids when they first come up, they have the first time around the circuit, they do really, really well. But then these teams, they get what they call a book. They get a
Right.
book on a guy. So, they throw a ball low and outside. He always swings at it. He may not be able to hit a curveball or a breaking pitch or whatever. He's been around the circuit a couple of times now. So if whatever book they got on him is not working, so he's still playing good ball. And they
Right.
got some other good ball players. So I don't know. This may be the year for
Yeah.
Cincinnati after being in the cellar for a decade, two
Right.
decades.
And then you've
Yeah,
got Milwaukee in second place there.
Milwaukee's just kind of a lackluster team. I see the Yelich is starting to get with some power again. Um, I don't know about that, but a couple good pitchers they've got, but they're not doing that well. They're more or less. They're in my opinion, the Milwaukee this year is a wild card team. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it or not.
Now I see that I thought Chicago was in fourth place last week, but they've bumped up there to third place.
Well, Pittsburgh's been falling. See,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's been falling quite a bit. So, um, Pittsburgh's, Pittsburgh's in free fall right now. So,
Yeah.
I think you're probably going to see Cubs do a little bit better, and Pittsburgh, they're not. They may decide to retool a little bit after the All-Star game, but
Right.
I don't think Pittsburgh's falling back like they usually do.
And then of course you've got your Redbirds at the bottom.
Oh man, after last week, Marmol, their manager, they need to fire him. They really do, and probably their general manager. But I don't know. I mean, they didn't do anything in the offseason. The Cardinals didn't. They,
Uh-huh.
they went out and got Contreras. They had to. The reason why they got Contreras because Yachty had retired, and they had to get a catcher that could play every day. Well, they
Yeah.
did that, and that's all they did. They didn't do anything else. Okay, they picked up a couple minor leaguers here and all that, and they're down at Memphis, but they didn't really do anything to help the team, especially the relief pitching. So, and Wainwright, I'm a big Adam Wainwright fan. He's been with the Cardinals for 19 years, but hey, I think his time is, I mean, I'd like for him to just retire,
Yeah.
you know, but he's on the DL now. He'll probably be on the DL probably till like September or so.
Yeah.
He says he's got to get his head straight, and he's got he says his arm, baseball pitchers, they get a thing called dead arm.
Right.
Okay. And then usually the only thing you can, like it always happens in spring training. They come out, they throw good, and then toward the end they get the dead arm, and then it comes back. Well, Wainwright, there again, he's got his dead arm all year.
Right.
So I don't know if he knows he's not performing well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, in the National League West, you've got Arizona on top with 52 wins and 38 losses.
What can I say about Arizona? They built their team. They took some licks for about a decade or so, finishing last place. Them in Colorado would always battle out between last place, and then they made some trades. That's where Goldschmidt came from.
Right.
They traded like 5 ball players to get, because Goldschmidt wasn't in their future,
Yeah.
and so I think they're for real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Dodgers right behind them, 51
Yeah, I think the
wins and
Dodgers,
38 losses.
they're Dodgers. They're kind of waiting and seeing. They're in the hunt. I mean, they're only half a game out, so um, you know, I think they'll be in it. I think eventually in the month of September, the Dodgers and Arizona, when they play each other in the division back and forth, I think there's going to be some interesting games there.
Yeah. And then
And
you've
and
got,
the same thing for San Francisco. San Francisco's only 3.5.
yeah.
Good chance they may get they may get a wild card team. They may get wild card berth, but that's not bad. But
Right.
the last two, San Diego, big disappointment,
Yeah.
big disappointment. San Diego with all the superstars they got on that team, but eventually those guys are going to have to click.
Yeah.
A lot of experts say that in the month of August, with all those players that are so good, they're going to click and then they're going to make a move. So we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Well, one thing you wanted to talk about was a little bit about the All-Star game. Let me see if I could find the article you had sent me here. Oh, there it is. I think this will be the where I'll find that article.
Yeah. The
Taking a while to
today is the
load.
last regular game till the All-Star break. Tomorrow's a travel day, and then Tuesday they play. Okay.
What
And
was
I
that
think they
article,
see
Doug? Was it the schedule or
no the players.
the players among the All Stars? Who's the best of the best? Was that it?
Um,
Hold on, let me look at my phone because I know you sent it on my phone and I can't transfer the link directly. Well, I can. It's just I've got to run through here all the All Star rosters. Let's see here. Maybe it's this one. Maybe.
what's on that?
Let's see here. see here. Here, oh, here it is. Here's the article, Doug. You click on it.
Okay. Yeah, click on the rosters.
Yeah. Here we go.
There you go, right there.
All right.
Okay. So, we always have the home run derby the night before,
hold
right?
on. I lost the hold on. Something happened here. I lost the connection. Give me a second while I restart it. The AirPlay connection. Give me 1 second. Something got screwy. All right, and then let me get that back. There we go. Any day now. What's going on? Hold on, Doug. There we go. Okay. Okay, for the American League there. You see the list? Doug. Doug, I lost you on audio. Hold on. You there? Hey, Doug, you there? For some reason, I lost your audio. You want to say something?
Yeah, the elected starters. You hear anything at all?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry about that.
Okay. So, you go through these lineups. Okay, we got a Texas boy, Jonah Heim. Okay, he's he's a catcher. Yadi Diaz, Tampa Bay team, right?
Right.
Marcus Seaman, Texas, another Texas Ranger. Joshua Jung, Texas. Corey Siegel, he's having a fantastic year. Okay, they picked him up as a free agent, and all these players are voted on by the fans, right?
Right.
Yeah. So then Mike Trout, I think he's injured, so he won't be in the team. That's the reason why they have an asterisk. Another Tampa Bay player, Randy Arozarena. Okay, he came up to the Cardinals farm system. He had a coffee break with the Cardinals a couple years ago. They traded him and a couple other ball players to Tampa on the deal. They got Ozuna, which turned out to be kind of he's already moved on to Atlanta, and
You may want
so
to pull
he's
up the
a good ball
list
player.
from your end because I think the screen is frozen again. And then you can talk about it. You there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, I think the screen is frozen again.
You want me to share it, or is just I guess probably just talk about it?
I don't think it's gonna work. Let me hold on 1 second. Let me shut the AirPlay down again and restart it back up. Sorry about that.
Okay, I'll just keep on talking about it.
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
keep on talking about it
yeah,
while I work on
yeah.
this.
Mike Trout, he's on the he's got voted in, but he's injured, so he won't be there. We already talked about Randy Arozarena, Tampa Bay. Aaron Judge, he's hurt, so he won't be there either. And Shohei Ohtani from the Angels. We've talked about him a lot. So the American League starting lineup is either going to be just about all Tampa Bay or Texas, with one DH, which would be Ohtani. Okay.
Right.
And the reserves is, each team's got to have a player. Salvador Perez is a catcher. He's a pretty good ball player, but he's playing for Kansas City. And then Adley Rutschman, he plays for Baltimore. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., okay, his dad played for the Angels for a number of years. He's having a banner year. And then Bo Bichette. When I always hear that name, Bo Bichette, I always think of Boba Fett on Star Wars, okay? Yeah. Wander Franco. Um, Luis Robert, he plays for the White Sox. He's a big power hitter. I've seen him play this weekend. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Adolis Garcia, ex-Cardinal, minor league, came up for a coffee break. Cardinals didn't like what they saw, so they cut him. Didn't get anything for him, and now he's an all-star. Go figure. Kyle Tucker,
Yeah.
I think he's injured too. And then Julio Rodriguez from Seattle, he's injured, I think, and Brett Rocker. And the pitchers for American League is Shoni Otani, right?
Uh-huh.
The Angels. Okay. Garrett Cole, probably considered many by the best pitcher in baseball now. Louis Castillo, Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray's an interesting character because he bounced around with Cincinnati for a number of years. He came up through the Cincinnati farm system, and then they got tired of him and they traded him to Minnesota, and he's doing well up there. Kevin Gausman from Toronto, that's a known name. Framber Valdez, Houston. Okay.
Right.
George Kirby, Pablo Lopez, and Jordan Romano. The relievers is Kenley Jansen, ex-Dodger. He's doing relief pitching for Boston now. And then not really any big names there. Felix
Right.
Bautista, Yenny Kano, I've not even heard of him. Okay.
And then you've got the
And then we've
National
got,
League.
yeah, that takes care of just about the National League, the American League. Okay, for the National League, we got Sean Murphy, catcher, good young catcher. That the Atlantis. He started out with the Oakland A's, I believe, and A's had to dump payroll, so they traded him to Atlanta. They've got him a good young catcher. Freddie Freeman, he's with the Dodgers. Started out with Atlanta. He's having a banner year. Luis Oraz, okay, he's from Miami. He's that ball player we talked about that's hitting close to 400.
Right.
One of my favorites, Arenado. Nolan Arenado, third baseman, future Hall of Famer. Started out slow at the bat, but now he's hitting really well. He's got about 60 RBIs and about 17 or 18 homers, and always plays a great third baseman. Always great. Orlando Arcia from Atlanta, another. Ronald Acuna Jr., that's we talked about him. Hurt last year, didn't play, come back, doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Mookie Betts, perennial all-star, plays for the Dodgers. Corbin Carroll, good young ball player from Arizona. And J.D. Martinez is a DH. And he used to be a Boston guy. Now he's a Dodger. And then reserves are like Will Smith, another catcher, Matt Olson, first baseman. Ozzie Albies for Atlanta. The team's, got a lot of Atlanta and Arizona players on it.
Right.
Okay. Pitchers are Zach Galen, Arizona. Once again, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Spencer Strider, Atlanta. Most of the pitchers are either Arizona or Atlanta. And Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers, he's hurt, but he's on there. Marcus Stroman, the Cubs. That's about all the Cubs got going for it. And that's about all for the pitchers. And the relief pitchers, Alex Diaz for Cincinnati. Don't know much about him, but I do know the next one, Josh Hader. He's San Diego. He used to play for Milwaukee. And last summer, at the deadline, they traded him, and I guess he's rebounded pretty good. Devin Williams and Pittsburgh's got a good reliever named David Bernard, but he's hurt. And then Craig Kimbrell, perennial, probably a future Hall of Famer. He's pitched for a number of teams. He goes up and down, but generally speaking, he's a good reliever, one of the
Yeah.
best relievers in baseball.
Now, when is the All-Star game scheduled?
Yeah, it'd be Tuesday night.
Tuesday night?
Yeah,
Is that going to be broadcasted, or are you going to have to figure out where to watch it?
I think it's going to be on Fox.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a Fox. Usually, either Fox or ESPN. I think ESPN does the home run derby. That gets a lot of ratings.
Right.
Um, and then the All-Star game is on Fox, and of course, so then it'd be blacked out on the MLB app.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can
So
get your problems with the MLB app taken care of,
I hope so, but I'm gonna probably have to wait till Thursday or Friday. Usually, what happens? See the Cardinals. See they're on the road right now. They'll probably get. They probably won't play till Friday night. I have to check the schedule. Sometimes they come back on Thursdays, but usually they give the players. That's kind of like like a little break for the players that don't make the All-Star team. Because
Right.
they can go home and kind of regroup and take a couple of days off and figure out what's going on and stuff. And so and so I think he'll probably start in St. Louis probably Friday night. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, but hopefully I'll get this MLB episode straightened out.
Yeah. All righty, Doug. Well, that was a good wrap up for the MLB for this week. For those of you out there, tonight we have a SpaceX Falcon 9 launch happening at 10:15. We'll be covering that tonight at 10:15. So for those of you still up, be sure to catch that. Once again, as we mentioned in the show early on, we've got a new NFL show taking off here on Friday at 10 p.m. It's called The Spin Zone. And then for you political gurus, we have a new political podcast that we are launching. It is called 270. For those of you that missed CNN's Crossfire, it's going to be in that format. And we are going to have both the left, the right, and the middle participate. So hopefully,
Not too many people left in the middle these days.
well, you're right. So, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of works out. If you remember the old Crossfire, I can't remember what the other guy's name was, but, Pat Buchanan was on there for a while. And I can't remember the other guy that died. Robert something. Robert Novak. Yeah.
Yeah, for years, Hannity and this other guy, what was that guy's name, was on Fox? He was a liberal and Hannity was a conservative.
Yeah.
And they were on, and that guy died, and so they just switched over to Hannity.
Yeah.
And then Cuomo on News Nation, Cuomo has O'Reilly's on there a couple times a week, and they do the same thing. Those are good.
Yeah. Well,
I highly
I'll
recommend
probably
those
be
two. Those
taking the
two.
center position, the center right position, and my co-host, which is out of San Antonio, he'll be taking the far right position. So it'll be
Wait a minute now. Is there any conservatives in San Antonio?
There is. I found one.
You found, so he's the one. So he's the one, right?
Well, for at least for
said that.
270, for 270, right? So
Okay, yeah.
so that
they
show
finally
is going
they finally found one.
They finally found one.
I'm
That's right.
I'm surprised the Twins up there didn't outlaw him. Didn't kick him out of San Antonio. The two the set of twins up there. One's used to be a congressman, and the other one used to be the mayor or something like that. I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, like I said, that's coming up here probably the week after, so it'll be fun and exciting. As those of you know, if you want to hit any of our shows, you can go to www.brownsvilletechlive.com and you can see this show that just happened, as well as our upcoming launch tonight, as well as any of our previous shows. Doug, it's a great pleasure to have you on tonight, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Get out there and do some biking and get in that green monster for some swimming. And we'll see you next
I'm
week.
done. Yeah. I'm done for the day. I did 25 miles this morning. I rode my bike to Los Fresnos and back and then
Oh, wow.
around Rancho. Oh, they
Yeah.
got that new road up there, has a bike lane. It's
Yeah.
pretty nice riding, a little windy, but yeah, it's
Are
okay.
you guys going
And
to
then,
that farmer's market there in Rancho? I didn't even know y'all had one.
yeah, but she always says there's nothing up there that she wants. Well, I said, how about fruits and vegetables? And she says, I'm the only one that eats fruits and vegetables in the house. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Cause the way she grew up, she ate a lot of boxed stuff,
Right.
like macaroni and cheese and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. A lot of Aldi's, when Aldi's was poor, that's where, once upon a time, poor people went to Aldi's. Now
Wow.
it's kind of bougie now, Aldi is, but okay. I remember going into Aldi's back when I was a young man and, you had to
Actually, they're
carry
one of my
your own
customers,
boxes.
by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Aldi's come a long ways because I know our daughter goes to Aldi's all the time. But I'm the fruits and vegetables guy in the house. Okay,
Yeah.
and when I say, hey, get some fruit, well, she thinks I'm just, oh, get an apple. Okay, what's that? But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, but anyway, but yeah. So I've been riding the bike and getting the green monster, and I got my little dumbbells out there and
Yeah.
working
That's
on the
good.
muscles and stuff,
That's good.
and yeah, just trying to keep busy,
Yeah.
and see what happens.
Yep.
Got to, as I always say, as Clint Eastwood would say, keep the old man out.
Yeah. All righty, Doug. Well, everybody, that is it for Doug's Dugout, episode number 5. You can catch this show on the other social media platforms if you weren't able to catch us live today. Doug, we'll see you next week.
Okay, Danny, take care.
All righty. Bye bye.
Okay, bye. Hey, my Cardinals won a game. Okay, Danny, see you later, buddy.
All righty.
Bye.